Hello, you caught me primping there. How's it going, Facebook friends and family? We are so excited to be giving another live session where we're answering your questions in real time. We are talking about curriculum today. And now you can ask your curriculum questions and we'll try to answer the best we can, but we're really just talking about Odysseyware and Edgenuity and Plato today. We'll give you some ins and outs of each of these curriculums, what we love about them, what we find to be a little bit, puzzling or frustrating at times, but for the most part, we're diving into these three. If you have questions on other curriculum, you can ask them and we'll try to remember to bring them into the next chat, we'll have more live chats on these other curriculums. So we're looking forward to doing this for a really long time. As long as you're there asking questions, we'll be here answering them. Today, I'm really excited to bring you our panel. We've got Melissa, we've got Kristen, we've got Enrique today. These are all people who are either users of the curriculum or instructional coaches. What's that? I don't know what just happened. I heard something, but we are good to go. So we have the frequently asked questions, and we'll start with those, but we're looking forward to you bringing questions to us. And so if you have a question about Odysseyware, Plato, or the Edgenuity curriculum, definitely throw them in and we'll get you some answers, all right? Well, Melissa, tell us who you are, how long you've been at Epic.
Okay, my name is Melissa Kareem Wilson, and this is my 4th year with Epic, the best decision I ever did. And I love it very much, and I'm really glad to be here.
Awesome. Krista, tell us about who you are and your Epic's origin story.
My name is Krista Teal. I have been at Epic. This is my 2nd year. And like Melissa, I love everything about it. I really love what Epic stands for and meeting the students where they're at. So this is one of the best decisions I've ever made as well.
Awesome. And Enrique, who are you to Epic and how long have you been here?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Enrique Ariola. I'm the instructional coach for Epic, basically focused in math, but we do manage some curriculums, and this is my 3rd year. I've been in education for many, many years, teaching. It's one of my passions. So I'm supporting both teachers and families with everything that is curriculum and math related.
Thank you all so much for being here. You're users of this content, and so I just thought, and I have been, so I'll be able to, chime in here and there, but we've got parents that kind of want to know about these curriculum options before they select them. And I know lots of you have done the ILP already, but don't worry, you've got time to change. If you see a feature that we explained here today that you think is going to better fit your family. So let's get in with the frequently asked questions first. Melissa, you have used Odysseyware. I know you've used many curriculums, but tell me what you absolutely love about Odysseyware.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I love about Odysseyware in relation to the students. My 1st year at Epic, I asked a few people what they recommended, and Odysseyware was one that came up. And so I put many of my students in it. I did give them a choice, but what I love about it is after 3 years of using Odysseyware, I have only had one student asked to change curriculums because they needed something they needed something different. Everyone that gets on Odysseyware that has a good experience with it and gets the program looking like they need to, and their teacher works with them on editing some things, once they get to that point, they love it. So if the students love it, I'm going to love it. There's a lot that I love about it. Do you want me to keep going?
We'll wait till we get a few more questions. That was perfect. And you touched on something right there that I think is key to the success of Epic. If a student likes the curriculum, If a student is willing to get into that curriculum, you've got way less hurdles to jump through the whole rest of the year. If you've chosen a student's curriculum and they don't like it or it's not for their learning style, you are going to fight all year long in getting your education. So I love that you were flexible and willing to switch when that student needed help. Great. Let me go to Enrique. Enrique, tell me, what are some of the things that students fall in love with the Plato curriculum?
I think Plato's advantage is the offering. It has numerous courses to choose from, particularly if you're in high school. Tons of electives. You have a lot of choices in core subject areas as well. And I think that one of Plato's strengths is actually the ability to teach using numerous tools. So you have videos, charts, graphs. You have so it's not really text heavy as some other curriculums may be. So it really suits a lot of different learning styles. And again, it's that flexibility, being able to choose tons of courses, and it's very user friendly.
Awesome. And Krista, before we dive into some of the questions that are coming through on Facebook, why don't you tell me what you love and what students love about Edgenuity? What does this program have to offer?
Edgenuity is really good about, it appears as if a teacher is teaching it. So what they do is they have video-based teachings, and then the teacher writes on the screen, underlines, highlights, right there within the text, shows examples right away. It shows the teacher doing it and teaching it. Then it's got a chance for the students to practice, and before it gives any kind of assessment. So I really like that Edgenuity's got that I do, we do, you do format. And the students love that they can watch the videos and learn through it versus like being very text-based. I loved it as a parent because I could rewatch a video and help my son to better understand something. If he didn't know or couldn't understand it, I could watch it, and it was very self-explanatory through the videos and teachings that you could watch it as a parent, understand what it was talking about, and then you could also help your child as well.
Yes, so true. And real quick, I wanted to be able to throw in my 2 cents because you just don't keep me quiet for too long. On the Odysseyware curriculum, I love that it's got the response where you have to type in and prove what you know. As we all know, that the State Department has added the constructed response to their state test, and being able to back up your answer is always good. And so the kids that are in that curriculum have that constructed response feedback, and they're gonna have seen that all year long and be ready for that. With the Plato curriculum, I love the unit pretest. I think it's awesome. If I am kind of already just super familiar with cells and the way they work, because that's been something I've learned and studied on my own, I'm able to test out of that content without having to run through the monotony of learning it again. And even though I'd ace it, because I knew it, I'm able to pre-test out of it and move into something else and give myself more time on other topics. And then with the Edgenuity curriculum, for what it's worth, I love it because you can take notes within the curriculum. And so you've got open note tests and open book tests. So when you are going through the lesson, you can take notes there on the side, and then those notes are available to you whenever you go back and take that pre-test if the teacher turns it on. And that's huge because, I mean, the lessons are a little bit longer in that platform, and so I know that there are downsides to it as well. But being able to recall those facts and seeing it, while you're taking that test, I think is huge. And for me personally, Edgenuity is my favorite color scheme. I'm a very visual person, so I just really love that curriculum. Okay, we do have questions coming through, so I definitely want to get to them. Kelly wants to know, is there a way to change the pace schedule on Plato? It never matches up with the teacher's pace. And I think that's a great question. I'm not sure the way your teacher set it up, but Enrique, talk to me about pacing in Plato.
Well, basically, with Plato, you do have the ability to adjust certain things. However, it does have a sequence, and it is important to just make sure that you're following that sequence. You mentioned the pretest, which is an important element of that. Sometimes we may have to just keep it turned off or on. Again, it depends on the pathway, what the student is doing with that course specifically. But certainly the pacing, you are allowed to move faster if you feel that some of those content, sub-contents, if you will, within a unit, something that you already mastered, you can certainly advance at a faster pace. It is important, though, to always think what the teacher expectation is for a given lesson, the type of activity that the student is going to have to perform, and maybe the product that the student needs to create. So based on that, you want to just make sure that you're matching that expectation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We've got, let me see, Delana wants to know, my teacher recommended Odysseyware. What are some of the pros and cons? Does it offer AP honors classes? I've been told it involves a lot of writing. Please explain. And so we've given you a couple of the pros, and if we think of more, we'll definitely give them to you. Melissa, what are some of the cons, in your opinion, for Odysseyware?
So some of the cons, interestingly enough, could be a pro to a student. And what I mean by that is some of the students like that they can go through the curriculum and they don't have to wait for a teacher to grade something for them to continue on. Also, they can skip things, and if the teacher is not really looking to see that they might have skipped that constructive response, then you can just keep going on. So there's some flexibility, which is wonderful, but it also can be kind of taken advantage of if there's not good communication between the student and the teacher, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much. Let me see. One of the questions next is, can you pre-test out of info in other curriculums? There are some ways to pre-test out of other things, but Plato is definitely the easiest one. It's right there, ready to click on. With some of the other curriculum options, you have to have your teacher unlock things to make it pre-testable. And depending on, all sorts of factors, that's a good thing or a bad thing. I hope that helps answer that question. And it's pretty vague without getting into the weeds on that one. Amy wants to know, what are your thoughts on Bright Thinker? We are going to get into Bright Thinker. I didn't ask if any of you guys had used it in the past. Can anybody answer this question right now, or do we want to wait until the next live Q&A?
I can answer a little bit.
We'll go for it, Melissa.
Okay, so I told you about the one student that switched out of Odysseyware. He switched to Bright Thinker because he had Odysseyware for, I think, 4 or 5 years, and that was the only reason why. But he actually really liked Bright Thinker as well, and he's sticking with it again this year. I have less students in Bright Thinker just because it was newer, but those that stuck with it really liked it. They thought that it was a great, thorough. The one thing that's different between some parents thought was sort of maybe a hassle was that in Odysseyware you don't have to upload things off of the program, and in Bright Thinker you do. You have to go to a different part of the lesson to download things, which isn't really that big of a deal depending upon the need of the family and the student. But I've heard great things about Bright Thinker, and the few students that have been in it have really liked it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And we will get more into that curriculum in a couple of the coming Facebook Live episodes. Let me see here. JNZ wants to know, is Plato rigorous enough to prepare a student for OSU? Enrique, what do you think?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think that Plato, Odysseyware, those are very, very rigorous. Plato, for sure. I would urge any families that are particularly interested in a pathway, post high school for the student, that they definitely reach out to the teacher, speak about it, talk to, eventually the GSM can be involved, so that the right courses are selected. So even within a curriculum, you can opt for courses that are not going to prepare you well enough for lofty post-high school goals. But if you choose the right courses, then you will be prepared. So that is a major point that you want to make sure you address with a teacher. And I also wanted to talk about the AP and the honors situation. I think somebody asked about it, and it's AP is not offered in Odysseyware. I think that was a question. And honors, it really depends on the curriculum. Again, some curriculums may have honors designations for the courses, and it's just, again, a matter of looking into it with the teacher, the GSM, to see which specific courses are offered for that year, because it does change from year to year.
It definitely does. That's a great point, Enrique. Just because one curriculum has something one year does not mean it's going to be available the next year. And Plato's one that definitely has, it's gone back and forth with some of even the college credit courses that they offer. And then, depending on what they're offering the next year, it could be gone. So keeping an eye on the website, the Epic Charter Schools website, not the Plato website, will give you information on the courses that each curriculum offer for this school year, the current school year. Great point. Thank you, Enrique. And just so we're all clear, the Edgenuity and the Odysseyware curriculum are NCAA approved. And Amanda wanted me not only to talk about NCAA approved, but to mention that if you are going the NCAA route, all right, and you choose Odysseyware or Edgenuity or one of the other curriculums that offer the NCAA accreditation, because you've got a student who's planning on going that track, we cannot modify the curriculum at all. The curriculum is submitted in the order in which it's supposed to be done, and it's approved for the order in which it's supposed to be done without removing any lessons, discussions, journals, or anything. So if you are going NCAA pathway, you do need to know that every single lesson must be done. In other curriculums, it's and students who are not NCAA pathed, I can remove a discussion that is a part of the core curriculum and just have that discussion myself with the student and give the same grade. I can assign an essay on a topic that's relevant today because of something that happened on the news, and remove an essay that might be on something else within the core curriculum as a teacher. But if you are on that NCAA path, you can always do more, but you must do the content as it's listed. So Amanda, I hope that touches everything that you were asking about. Kelly wants to know, is there a better platform for students on an IEP? Melissa, can you take this one? Because you've got students on IEPs, and you've got students in several curriculum, right?
Yes. So from reading comments, there's a lot of comments about Odysseyware where, oh, I hated it. And then some families say they love it. What I have found, even with students, whether they're on an IEP or not, that if the family and the teacher set it up for success from the beginning, if they get on there and they see all of the stuff, because it's very full. I mean, it looks like a lot of work. There's a lot of writing. But if you can set it up to where they know you're going to, we're going to modify that. We're going to have accommodations. I have many of my students on IEPs really thrive in Odysseyware because it's set up, or from the very beginning of school, I'll tell them just start and do the few first lessons because I need to be working through some things to edit some things and take some things out. Once that happens, they're very, very happy and feel really confident that they can go through it. There's speech to text. Like I said, it really is the setting it up for success from the beginning, which takes time for teachers, of course, at the beginning. But I make sure that my families and students know, just be patient, know that I'm going to be moving some things off, or I'm going to be changing some things, and just kind of get going. And so when they know that, they don't feel so overwhelmed when they get on there. I feel like those that say, oh, I don't like Odysseyware, it's because they just maybe were thrown into it, or maybe it wasn't set up, or they weren't communicated to just be patient. There's going to be some things removed. And the writing part really keeps students and families from wanting, because they see and hear how much writing is, but again, that can be modified as well. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, and I've got a couple more questions here about which one's good for math for students on IEP, which one's good for writing. The IEP, really, you start getting into very specific modifications for things. So it's hard to speak on just broadly IEP, because some kids have an IEP for speech to text only, that might be what their accommodations are. So speaking in terms of specifics of curriculum with a broad scope of IEP is really hard. That's something you're going to want to ask your teacher for help on. I know for us, my daughter has dyslexia. And so finding something that is super reading heavy is very difficult, but it doesn't mean I don't want her reading at all. So we push for reading, and I've got her in a curriculum, Edgenuity, because Edgenuity has the video-based content, it has the open book questions, and it still has a great portion of reading, but it's got a color scheme that we feel is best for her while she's reading that content. And so I hope that helps, but getting into the specifics on which curriculum for students on IEPs is really difficult, just because the IEP is set, but it doesn't say what the modifications are. So I hope, I mean, just get with your teacher on that, and we'll do the best we can with getting you the best curriculum. And I hope that is okay for Kelly and anybody else moving forward who may have questions about IEPs. Let's see. Oh, please go for it, Enrique.
I just want to add something that you mentioned, and I think is very important to families. I think that the communication with the teacher is really key. You want to make sure that the teacher explains what the experience is for that teacher specifically, the sort of curriculum that he or she feels very comfortable with, because it's going to be key. And you guys mentioned in Odysseyware, for instance, that certain things can be adjusted, teachers can supplement, take away, etc. So it's going to be very important for the success of the entire year that the teacher feels comfortable with that curriculum, is aligned to it, etc. Because that's going to be an important factor. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that the students are engaged, that they're getting content from various places, various types, that it makes it exciting. And so that is an important conversation.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. I am looking here. For what it's worth, if I spoke out of turn, maybe I'm being corrected, but your NCAA curriculum options are going to be Apex, Odysseyware, Edgenuity, and Fuel Ed. Okay, and we're definitely going to have Fuel Ed and Apex conversations next Friday. I don't know if those are the specific ones we're talking about, but we're doing curriculum Fridays for a while. And so each Friday you can log in and find out more about the different curriculum options. Which curriculum, Kelly or Alicia wants to know, which curriculum is best with ADD on a high school level? And Alicia, that's just going to be another one of those, it's just a difficult question. With ADD, you definitely want to make accommodations for it, but you also kind of want to push students to do exactly what they need to do. I mean, we're setting kids up for future success here at school. We don't want them just to be successful on this grade level. So we're always going to try to push students to the next level. Will we make accommodations for ADD? Of course we will. But we also need to lengthen the amount of time that they're able to sit and do schoolwork. But choosing something that's got a better color scheme will help with that. Choosing things that have a little bit shorter lessons, like, I mean, Apex is one of those that you can get in and do a lesson in about 20 to 40 minutes, which is great. Whereas in Edgenuity, apologies, it's going to be about an hour to an hour, 10 minutes. And so when you're talking about attention span, choosing one with maybe a smaller lesson or a shorter lesson, but more lessons might be appropriate. However, I don't have ADD, but with dyslexia, I would have never been able to get into Apex. I know it's a widely chosen curriculum, but it is a plain old color scheme, and I would have been like, not doing it. So definitely get on each of the curriculum websites and just kind of go through a sample lesson, see what it looks like. See if your kiddo loses attention in the small demo. That will be a good indicator on whether or not the curriculum would be great for ADD. Let me see here. Jennifer wants to know what would be the best curriculum for a fourth grader on an IEP. And so that's just going to be another one of those specifics. Sorry, I didn't see the IEP question in there until too late. For visual learners, not big on reading a ton, which is better, Odysseyware or Bright Thinker? And again, we're going to get into the ins and outs of Bright Thinker in a future episode. But do you want to speak to this one, Melissa or Krista? Visual learning?
I don't have a lot in Odysseyware like Melissa does, but with Edgenuity, being a visual learner, I need to see it and do it. Edgenuity is great. You watch the videos, you watch the teacher practice it right there on that screen. And you've got, like she was saying, you've got that note option. So your visual learners, if they need to even like take notes or something, but it's all being played out for you. One awesome thing about Edgenuity that I loved with science was they have the virtual labs. So when I was in school, we had to look under a microscope and draw the cell that we found and things like that. So with Edgenuity, it has a really cool virtual lab where it does the microscope part for you, but it still expects you to have like your science notebook and you're drawing it, but you're visually seeing what that cell looks like up close. It's just doing it through the virtual lab instead of you doing it with a microscope at home. So I think visually Edgenuity is really, really good.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Allison wants to know, what's the advantage of going NCAA? What does it stand for? And so, Allison, NCAA is National Collegiate Athletic Association. And these, the kids that are going the NCAA route are athletes that are hoping to get into a Division I or Division II school on for athletics. A lot of kiddos start thinking about that in 7th and 8th grade and definitely want to be prepared for that route. And I would say, especially if you are wanting to be prepared for that route, finding a curriculum in middle school that will take you through high school is important. That way there's no learning curve when you move to those other grade levels. But that's just my opinion. Let me see here. Courtney, is there a good one for kids that want to have online and paperwork? Great question. I'm going to go ahead and say, tune into the Fuel Ed conversation that we have. And I don't know what grade level your kiddo's in there, Courtney, but Fuel Ed has some of that through 5th grade. In 6th and 7th, there's a little bit of offline stuff as well. But just so everybody knows, the online component is always going to need to be supplemented. There is no online curriculum out there that meets 100% of the standards. None. And especially in Oklahoma, where we have our own standards. These curriculum providers write their curriculum to sell across the nation. And so they'll try to align it the best they can. But I always recommend finding some sort of an offline workbook, and whether that's teaching textbooks or novel studies, or, the sky's kind of the limits to supplementing your child's education here. There are limits to what can be purchased through the Learning Fund, but you as a parent can find what works best. I know that there are families that have used Horizons and Explode the Code and Abeka. Some of the things you must be willing to purchase on your own, and then find where they meet those academic standards, because everything we do here is tied to academic standards. But otherwise, the sky's kind of the limit on supplementing that core curriculum. So I hope that helps, Courtney, with your question. Brianna wants to know, is MobyMax adding science and social studies to their curriculum this year? Are any of you able to speak to MobyMax this year or this session? Okay, well, we will, and I know that they've had science and social studies in the past. Maybe that's a grade level specific. I don't think that they had science and social studies for first grade, but I'll definitely, I'll look into that and let you know, and we will have Moby Max on in the future, Miss Brianna. Let me see. I'm going to take one more question before we start the sign off here. J and Z wants to know, where can I see 11th grade full demos of each of these curriculums, not just a snippet or videos aimed for teachers? And J and Z, that's a great question. Most of our curriculum options are actually closed to teachers right now because they're being set up. Some of them may be open, but as soon as they get open, a teacher may be able to walk you through some of those. The curriculum providers don't give us demo access, and we used to try in the past, and we had demos going on, but it was only one license. So I might be logged in looking at Compass Learning Odyssey with a family, but some teacher across the state's trying to log in and show their family, and they've kicked me off. And so we don't just have access like that, but you can definitely get on YouTube and do a little bit of research and see what each of these curriculums have to offer. I know that there are tutorials from the student's point of view in YouTube. And so maybe going in and finding out which ones, like narrow it down from the website, which 3 you might want to look at, and then go find a tutorial on YouTube and see what it has to offer.
If I may, specifically, specifically with Plato and Odysseyware, they have amazing customer care service. So we can provide the phone numbers. I can type them in the chat, and if somebody wants to make them available. Anyways, or you can find them on the website. But for Plato and for Odysseyware, I would recommend those parents, if they're interested in those curriculums, to give them a call and say that they're with Epic Oklahoma, Epic Charter School Oklahoma, that they're interested in the curriculum. And I am sure that they're going to be able to set something up for them specifically, or at least give them a lot more information firsthand from the horse's mouth, if you will. So if you like, I can provide those phone numbers on the chat if that's useful.
We won't put it in the live, but we'll add it into the comments section as soon as this goes offline.
Perfect.
That's a great option, Enrique. And for anyone listening, there's a little help button either here or here or here or here on every single curriculum option. That help button is so incredibly helpful to answer any of your questions. There are commonly asked questions, and the chat support is there if you've got uncommon questions as well. Melissa, any words of advice for parents choosing curriculum right now? I don't know what happened to your sound, Miss Melissa, but if we can get it figured out, we'll come back. Krista, any words of advice for a parent choosing curriculum right now?
I would say do your research. Look on the EPIC website. Go look up some YouTube videos, like Aaron said, on the curriculums that you're wanting to choose, and communicate with your teacher. Like Enrique said, it'll be really good to ask your teacher what they're most comfortable with, what are their experiences with each curriculum, and then make a decision based on what you found, what you like, and then share that with your teacher and go from there. But definitely do your research.
All right, and Melissa, we hear you again. Did you have any words of advice to?
Kind of the same thing is just make sure that you let your teacher know what you're interested in. Some teachers have what they like, and that's great. And some families will say, well, what do you like? But if you really know what you're interested in, and if you do your research like they're saying, make sure that you really communicate that with your teacher. You do have a choice in this.
Yes, so much so. The parents, the families, they rule. You know, we are here to provide customer satisfaction, and we are customers. So whatever you need, you let us know. And yeah, exactly. Well, thank you to my panel so much for being here today. On Monday, I'm so excited. We're going to get to talk about next step and all the opportunities we have for kids moving into a post-secondary world, whether that's college and career ready. They're all college and career ready, whether that's college, whether it's tech and trade school. We've got lots of opportunities out there, internships that families want to know about. And so we're going to be talking about all those options that are available to high school kids starting on Monday at noon. So we hope you tune back in for that. Until next time, thank you so much for choosing EPIC to be the best place to work and to learn.